Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Premiership Podcast. We're your fabulous hosts, Jacob.
And Elijah.
And let's get crack-a-lacking into round 16, where this is the round of fantastic games and poor games. And we're going to start off with a fantastic game that occurred at the MCG against the Bombers and Port Adelaide, with Dan Houston kicking a goal after the siren. Was it goal of the year, though?
Jamie Elliott this week, and also the Ashcroft one earlier in the year, kind of knock it out. But it's a very respectable kick. Tough conditions, very far out, and he got it. He got the power over the line. So,
Port Adelaide were in the lead by, I think, like 16, 21 points at one stage during that last quarter. And then the Bombers pegged it back with a minute 30 to go with Jai Caldwell's goal. And then you think from that point forward, Essendon have got this in the bag. A rush kick out of defence by Nick Martin resulted in a goal after the siren by Dan Houston from 60 out on a slight angle. That probably, if, for example, was a Collingwood, I saw a bit of analysis on or a comparison between Collingwood and Essendon in similar situations. Collingwood retain the ball, so then they cause a stoppage within their defensive 50, whereas Nick Martin's rush kick somewhat resulted in that goal being kicked. Oh, well, it did result in that goal being kicked. So either way, it is a learning curve for the Bombers. But what a fantastic game. Some fantastic plays. Zach Butters was on another planet this game. Aliyah, who was your favourite man this week, Elijah. Defensive beast. But just a fantastic game to watch.
For sure. Aliyah statistically wasn't the best, but I loved his presence back there. Only the 11 disposals, 3 marks, but he was as influential as you would ever need back there. So, 8 intercept possessions as well. So, you mix it with 5 turnovers, but I don't know, I just love this game. Just watching it on the Saturday. Tough pill to swallow for the Dons, but the whole last quarter was an absolute roller coaster. I think Don started with the lead, going back all the way back to nearly 3-goal lead for the Power, and then picking all the way back. Yeah, it was a roller coaster for sure. And then to top it all off, after the siren and a score review, it's a great game. Great game.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It just shows that Port Adelaide can win the big games and big moments at the MCG, really cementing themselves as a team that can perform at great levels and during pressure moments and at the MCG, which is what we usually critique interstate teams for, playing at the MCG, as that's where the grand final is.
Yeah, well, pretty much most of the interstate clubs, they kind of fall over on their face at the MCG, but Adelaide, Port Adelaide, and to an extent Fremantle as well, historically, pretty good at the MCG, turns out. So, hey, you'll take those.
Brisbane may have to take a page out of their book, wouldn't they?
Yes.
But I'm not sure which game to move on to next, but I'm going to go with the Melbourne Giants game up in Darwin. Melbourne being defeated by the Giants, I called it 47-45. It was a rainy day up in Darwin. I watched the highlights. 5 goals, 15. So we're going to be talking about some of the inaccuracies from a certain other team that we'll discuss next game. But Melbourne just not good enough in front of the sticks with 5 goals in a game. And from what I heard from Simon Goodwin this week, their sole focus for this week was kicking goals behind the sticks because it really cost them in wet conditions up in Darwin. And with the injury of Bailey Fritsch out for 7 to 8 weeks, Melbourne's forward line is pretty much screwed. They're are they wasting a dynasty? Do you feel, Elijah?
Well, it's not over yet. I think they're optimistic they'll be back for finals, but the road to get there is a bit daunting. The next few weeks they've got St Kilda, Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide in Melbourne, then Richmond. But it doesn't really get any easier in the next few weeks. They have St Kilda to figure things out. I don't think you would be worrying a lot about that one. But in a couple weeks after that, they're winnable games. Especially the Brisbane one, and you need to be winning that one and the Adelaide one. Keep yourself up in the top 4 for that double chance, and keeping the other teams out, like Adelaide, which MCG tough.
The D's are 2 games behind the Lions, who sit 3rd, and Melbourne are probably the team that's most at risk of falling out of the top 4 to the likes of Adelaide and possibly the Bulldogs. We've seen the best and worst of the Bulldogs. But the Giants, fantastic win by them, 7-5. Josh Kelly played fantastically. In a slug of a game, it was just wet weather footy that just ended up being close. It was just... I watched the highlights of this game. I didn't watch the game as it was actually playing, as Elijah and I were actually at the Hawthorn Carlton game. But Giants beat the D's, and they're probably, with the Tigers and Cats, they're probably the 3 teams that can probably make the top 8, in my opinion. I'm not sure about you, Elijah, but the Giants are a bit of a watch within the next couple of weeks. They're playing really good football.
Yeah. I mean, credit to them. They managed to kick more goals than behinds, and terrible weather. I watched the almost the end of it, the second half. But no, that was a pretty good contest. All in all, Melbourne should have won. And you can tell by the scoring shots, and I think defensively as well. They just had more people there. You know, that rush kick out, it was enough to sit the play back another 5-10 minutes almost. So credit to the Giants for eventually getting over the line. I think BT called out, another goal left in this one. There's about 2 minutes left, and then there goes another one for the Giants, and that's what got them the lead. But no, credit to the Giants. They have a few tough games coming up, I think. They have Hawthorn this week, but no James Sicily yet, so that one's pretty winnable. Then over to Adelaide to play the Crows. Then over to Canberra to play the Suns. Then Ballarat. So a lot of travelling, playing the Bulldogs there. A lot of travelling, but a lot of winnable games, which is good for them. I don't know if I put them in the Premiership or Finals box yet. I think they can make an argument, but I don't think they're at the same level yet as, say, Essendon or even St Kilda, Bulldogs, even Richmond. Even though they kind of got smashed on the Thursday night, I don't think I put them in the same category as them yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah, watch this space. Yeah.
I'd like to make one final mention to a fantastic player who's flying under the radar a bit. Toby Green. Toby Green's playing a fantastic season, isn't he?
Oh, he is. I don't know if it's under the radar as such, but
I don't see people talk about him that much as of late. I see people talk about it here and there. Like sometimes the media may talk about him, but I don't see the general public talking about him as much as, say, look at the likes of Collingwood and Nick Dacos. Look at all these exciting players, but Toby Green is also a fantastic player in his own right at the moment. He is playing fantastic football and is probably the best small forward in the comp.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. I mean, he should be making the All-Australian team too.
100%.
Yeah, I would think more people would be talking about him, but I mean, guess I have to go to a Giants game and find out.
On to a draw. Sydney and Geelong, a grand final rematch. 6 goals, 18 and 7 goals, 12. If Sydney could kick in front of the sticks, they would have demolished the Cats. But I think the funny thing is Hickey missed a goal from right in front and Robbie Fox missed heaps. I didn't really watch this game, but I was expecting a better game. I was honestly expecting something bigger, but in a sense, a draw is a draw. We don't usually see draws these days, but we're seeing 2 draws this year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a whole lot of wasted opportunity. Swans should have had this. Cats were just kept in it because I mean they were missing 2, but they just kept in it because of the Swans' inaccuracy. I mean, 6 goals, 18, really? Other way around, you're kicking what? 18 goals, 6. That's what 100. I'm not doing math. I'm not doing math this late. But over like what 100 points. You'd expect more than that. 114. There we go.
You look at teams like Port Adelaide and Essendon who played in wet weather conditions, and even the Giants over in Darwin in wet weather conditions are a lot more accurate than Sydney on a night that was pretty much clearer than a summer day. It was just, it was probably, I'm guessing there was a bit of wind, as there always is everywhere, but it was a perfect night for a shootout. There was pretty much no excuses for such horrible misses.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the conditions of the ground were like, but coming off a game where you demolish West Coast, by 171 points, and then you're dishing up 18 behind in a draw. It's not a good look. Plenty of things to work on though. But yeah, had a couple good plays though. Golden, Parker, Shieldrick continuing his great rookie season. Loving him. Yeah, Shieldrick's awesome. But no, like some good players from there, but it was just inaccuracy after inaccuracy that only kept Geelong in it. They Swans should have won convincingly at that, but yeah,
a draw is a draw. On to the next game. That was at Optus Stadium. West Coast nearly beating the Saints, but the Saints held firm and came back to win a fantastic victory. And whether or not it's to St Kilda's advantage or whether or not West Coast was better on the day, which I feel West Coast were better on the day. Watching the highlights and the score whilst I was working at Action Indoor. West Coast had this in the bag. They were fantastic.
Yeah. Only till what through the third quarter. That kind of slips out of their hands. Well, nearly the whole third quarter really. But look, West Coast. I think I've seen a lot from a lot of their fans on social media and all that. Most of them pretty stoked with the response after the 170-point smashing the week before. And I would be too, right? That was very, very solid response. 77 points, with 12 goals, 5. It was accurate. It was very good, and you technically almost beat a 5th seeded St Kilda. So I'm not too upset if West Coast at all. I'm chuffed. That's a very good performance against a very out of form side. Who's I mean, the Eagles go to Brisbane next week, which is make of that as you will. Look, it's $1 to 34.
No, great.
So
if the West Coast wins, if West Coast wins, you're getting a bang for your buck. But don't gamble, people. Go to sponsored by Gamblers Hub.
Yeah, gamble responsibly. But look, it'll be a rough game to watch. I don't think either of us are tuning into that one, unless we need to. But no, they're really, really good. Elijah Hewitt, great game. Shannon Hearn, Witherden, Duggan, as he usually does. Even a bit of Dom Sheed doing a bit of stuff there too. Most of the guys, good response.
Oscar Allen, fantastic.
Yeah. And Marich as well. Mid-season draft pick up. You got 2 goals, 13 disposals, 4 marks, 4 tackles. I mean, great game. And yeah, Oscar Allen also had 2. St Kilda. What are we making of them? Because they get the 4 points, but it's
the only redeemable quality from that game was Machado Owens. Machado Owens is playing fantastic, and he is a potential of winning the Rising Star this year. He is a potential of winning the Rising Star. Yeah. Machado Owens.
Yeah.
But St Kilda, even though they just re-signed Sinclair, Wilkie, and Higgins until 2027, they're not there. They pretty much like last year. They started off really well, but then couldn't maintain that momentum, and teams just found them out. So they're a long way off. I'd say this is more of a W for the Eagles than the Saints. The Saints should have probably done something very similar to what the Swans did last week, but no. Even though they got the dub, St Kilda probably should have bet them by a lot more as a top 8 team.
Yeah. I mean, Bray Crouch, Sinclair, Marshall, Owens, even Caminiti had an alright game. Like, you have some standout players. But you then think, okay, but we're playing West Coast. I mean, who do they play the next few weeks? I mean, I don't think it's sustainable at all. They play Melbourne at Marvel. They've got the Suns on the Gold Coast, North and Marvel, and then the Hawks at Marvel. I think they win one of those, and it'd be very close. That being North Melbourne. I don't think they can travel and beat the Suns, and I don't think they can beat the Hawks or the D's at Marvel. I mean, okay. It'd be interesting though. D's without Fridge, and Oliver's not here yet.
Oliver's re-injured himself.
He has. Do they stand a chance next week? It's a bit of a fast stretch, but Melbourne's missing a few very good players. Very core players. You reckon they stand a chance?
They've both got fantastic defense. It's gonna come from the midfield, and I feel like Melbourne have the superior midfield.
I mean, superior midfield, but that's basically just Petrarca and Viney.
They've got no forwards, players that will kick their 3-4 goals that most teams do, like King and Caminiti can do.
Yeah.
So I feel like St Kilda have more height advantage going forward compared to Melbourne, unless they bring in Shaki and Ben Brown plays a fantastic game that he probably hasn't played since North Melbourne.
Well, Van Rooyen's probably going to come back too to fill up that fridge hole because he didn't play against the Giants.
Yeah.
But
it'll be interesting. Yeah, we'll get to it.
It's an interesting thing to think about though. They might maybe have a chance, but purely judging off the West Coast game, You'll take the 4 points, but it's not good signs,
Mm. The Dogs defeating the Dockers at Marvel 102-73. A player I'd like to point out from this game is Shamara Ugle-Hagan. He has pretty much stolen the spot of key forward at the moment. Norton has just gone somewhat downhill, but I feel like that's probably for the best because he's more of that leading forward that moves up the field and can take clunk marks. And as we both know, Elijah, Norton doesn't have the best set shot accuracy, whereas Ugle-Hagan is athletic, and Rory Lobb's sort of that third tall player who also plays ruck. Ugle-Hagan is playing fantastically. But in saying that, the Dogs have a fantastic midfield going on. Bontempelli playing fantastically. Libba, McRae. Bailey Smith, though, has been out of form.
Disappointing.
And I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. But yeah, the Dockers once again losing and probably disappointing the both of us as we predicted them to ascend to greater heights this year.
Yeah, well, yeah, so Walters and a miss with 4 goals each. And you're pretty much in it until that fourth quarter, but that's, it's not enough to win a game of football. And I mean, I watched a fair chunk of this one, and the Dogs pretty much controlled it most of the way through. You just kind of just hoping, it's like, okay, Freo, yeah, good. We have possession. Just get around that way. All right, back our way. Bit of that going on, and in the end, losing by 30 odd. So,
I'd also like to mention Nat Fyfe re-injuring his foot. Condolences to Nat Fyfe in injuring his foot again. But was it a good idea to re-sign him for another 2 years?
No.
In hindsight, no.
No, in hindsight, no. No, I think at his age and his fitness levels, I think it was a bit of a stretch to suggest that he would have good enough form to stay in the best 22 for the next couple of seasons. And look, he's reaching himself again, and I don't think he's coming back for a while. I don't think he's in the best 22 of this team at all. He's all right in the waffle, but I wouldn't. It's going to take a lot of convincing if I was the list selector over Fremantle or the coach to put him back into that side. Like, we all know how great his peak was, and what he can do.
We're not living in 2019. We're living in 2023. And Nat Fyfe, as much as we both love him, he is a champion of that club, being a 2-time Brownlow medalist. And whether or not he can come back, I don't want to say he won't come back and play some sort of small role, and will do Shane Crawford, for example. He could do that. We love being proven wrong, but in hindsight, he's had too many injuries throughout the past 4 years. It probably started back in 2015 when he did his knee in that preliminary final against the Hawks. So we don't want to rule out Nat Fyfe, but unfortunately his days are numbered due to the fact that his body's so brittle. He needs to drink more milk.
I don't think that's the answer. If that was the answer, it would have been done ages ago. But I think you still have to leave it to the younger guys anyway. I mean, he's a good mentor. But yeah, his peak was in the past. So to move on, Brayshaw and so wrong. This was still great in this game anyway. I think
Guy misses their future as well.
Yeah, I think in the end, it was just unlucky. The Dogs had such a great midfield, and it's kind of Dogs' home territory. A bit of a slimmer ground under the roof. the Freo doesn't play in those conditions. They'd rather play MCG, and they probably win if there's at the MCG. Yeah, I was just getting those clearances out and getting that ball into open space, which the Dogs kind of smothered them in that case, which worked, right? And yeah, the Dogs got the win. That's all I can say.
Damn straight. And so did the Lions. The Lions smashed the Tigers 134-53.
Smashing. I think we expected more from the Tigers, but
we did.
If it's the games in Brisbane and they're playing Brisbane, you'd expect Brisbane to win. Danaher 5 goals, McCarthy 3, Neil Danaher, not Neil Danaher, Lockie Neal, 34 disposals. Mate, if Neil Danaher's playing football again, mate. McCulloch was also with 34 and Ashcroft with 27. Brisbane dominated.
I'd like to point out Brisbane's youth here. They've got Jasper Fletcher, Darcy Wilmot, and Ashcroft coming in. And they're just filling in their roles for the team fantastically. And there's still more to come from their youth. Like they've got Coleman. They've still got Blake Coleman as well, the brother of Kitty Coleman. But it's going to be difficult to crack this Brisbane Lions team with Daniel Rich and Jack Gunston set to return. It's going to be difficult for them to return as well because they've got their youthful players up and running. They've got their middle-aged players who are at their peaks up and running, and they've got everything running at the moment. It's just, can they win at the MCG? That's their only little curse that they need to break. Their little Jeff Kennett curse, that if they break the seal of that, the possibilities are endless for this team because I don't want to rule them out of premiership contention. They can definitely set games ablaze with how they play, but whether or not they can win in Melbourne and go interstate is where the Lions need to improve. But again, we're expecting more from Richmond. Brisbane, fantastic. I didn't really watch this game either. It's I mind footy training and selections, but the Lions were just too good, too good.
I mean, yeah, you expect this one. Bit of a bye next week playing West Coast. They don't travel well there, and Brisbane are dominant there. It's 3rd versus 18th. You expect the Lions to win, and then but the week after MCG versus Melbourne. That's a test.
Good test. Yeah, that's a good test.
Rich and Oliver out as well, like we've seen before. Keep your eyes open.
Eyes open and peeled. Tex Walker and his Crows overpowered the Kangaroos at Adelaide Oval as we expected them to, 138-72. Tex Walker on top of the Coleman medal race.
It's crazy, and he didn't even kick the most goals this game, but he's back on top of the mountain. He 3 goals, Fogarty with 4, Rankin with 5, but hey, not too bad for an old chap.
33 years old and showing Harry Mackay fans how to kick set shot goals.
Yeah,
but so good. They are so exciting to watch, and even once Tex Walker retires, they've still got their exciting forward one. They've got Thilthorpe developing as that tall forward ruckman. They've got Darcy Fogarty, who's pretty much being the student of Tex Walker because they are both so accurate in front of goals. Darcy Fogarty is going to be an absolute champion. Rochelle, Rankin, like their forward line's insane. And if their trade period goes right this year, their possibilities of getting their defensive stacks up is endless as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got such an exciting the possibilities are endless. It's just so exciting to see what the Crows can do with their list
Yeah.
because they are, if I was a Crows fan, I'd be excited because you don't know who would win. Who would you choose in an Adelaide Port Adelaide preliminary final to make it into the grand final
Hard.
at this stage? And I predict that we will have an Adelaide Port Adelaide final this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, that will be bonkers. There's only been one final with Adelaide and Port Adelaide versing each other. Imagine a preliminary final or a qualifying final or a semi-final. Like, the stakes, the pressure, both teams just going at it. Both Adelaide teams are so exciting at the moment, and it just shows that South Australia may not be as boring as people say it is.
Oh, they might be, but the teams aren't.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, we talked about the fourth line before, but Jordan Dawson,
Oh, yeah.
Laird. I mean,
Rory
come
Sloane
on.
putting up some
Yeah.
fantastic numbers as well.
Yeah, even Sloan, really good game. Keys, Rob, 52 hitouts. Granted,
Rob. Who's Rob?
Riley O'Brien.
Rob. Anagram. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they were great. But it was only real into that third, fourth quarters. That they kind of went away. North Melbourne hanging in there for most of that first half. Like for me, really impressively. And high scoring first half too. 12-5. Was that 70, 77? To North Melbourne, 8 goals, 3, 51. So very high scoring first half, and North Melbourne hung in there. They were like unexpectedly very, very close. It was just that Adelaide experience knocking away at the end. But I think both of these teams could make a bit more noise. Obviously Adelaide a bit more because they're that better team, and they've got I think what did I go before? They play Melbourne, I think. Sometime, but for Essendon this week. The Giants, these. But North Melbourne could make some sneaky noise. I mean, we talked about the St Kilda game before, where they play in round 19. That's winnable. I mean, North Melbourne, St Kilda, the form both these clubs are at, step by step for North Melbourne, getting a bit better, with Brett Ratton, possibly win that game. I don't want to rule it out. I don't want to jinx it either, but I don't want to rule it out.
I wouldn't rule it out either. With North Melbourne's youth at the moment and their mature heads, there's rumours that Brent Harvey's son will be making his debut this week or within the next couple of weeks, Cooper Harvey. So that'll be fun to watch. But North Melbourne, they're probably where we expect them to be at the moment. They're a rebuilding squad, and they're going to be inconsistent, but they're going to be exciting to watch. And they've got some exciting players in there who will drive that club to build more success in the future.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's some negative things. I mean, they are the second most team in the comp. They've only won 2 games, big losing streak. But there's some good signs too, just like West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Collingwood getting over the Suns, 120-42. Nick Dacos obviously not winning the Brownlow this year, anytime or within the near future. That was sarcasm, by the way.
I was gonna say, he's pretty
that
good.
Was sarcasm.
I think
pretty good.
Just Collingwood.
He's
too
good.
He's good. Collingwood. Stacked out crowd. Sold out crowd rather. the conditions they like against a team who hasn't experienced that at all before. Yeah, this kind of went the way you'd expect. Unfortunate to see with Gold Coast. There's a bit of Stewie Juice slander, which I'm sure Jacob will get into later. But look, this went as we saw it. Collingwood just way too good, and one of the few actual blowouts this season. I mean, Nick Dacos, 10 tackles, 36 disposals, and a goal. Just why not? Noble had a great game. Tom Mitchell, Jamie Elliott with 5 and a goal of the year contender. He was great game. He was
most intelligent goal ever.
He was almost my player of the
very...
round. Very, very good runners up. Probably should have anyway, but and then yeah, I mean Suns outmarked it, but it's clear in the stats as well what kind of went wrong with them. Where yes, you get the hit outs, but then it goes around and you lose the clearance, and then in the rare chance it does make it inside 50, less than half the time. Sorry, more than half the time, you're coughing it up. So, yeah.
I'd like to state that I'm very happy Collingwood's a better team by this amount. It's been a while since we've seen Collingwood defeat a team convincingly instead of leaving it to the last quarter to make this miraculous comeback or keep it tight, as we know Collingwood can do. So I'm impressed to see that Collingwood can find a way to defeat teams convincingly and teams that are below their leagues convincingly. Because we've seen, like, compared to last year, they nearly lost to North Melbourne, they nearly lost to teams that were just a lot less than them. So I'm very happy to see that Collingwood better team by this amount. A couple concerns for the Pies for this week against the Dogs. Brady Myercheck and Braden Maynard are out, and that's pretty big. A big pillar up forward, and the aggressive bull in defence leaves a couple holes, but I'm sure the man himself, the Fly McRae, has a couple tricks up his sleeve to really solidify their spot in the top 2 or even finish on top.
I mean, they're there anyway. There's no reason why they're not that first side. I mean, but they're good. They're on a roll. I don't think that's going to infringe them a whole lot. Those misses for next week, but they'll be right.
I agree. On to the final game, which we both went to and sat next to each other, Elijah. Very romantic. We were. Reluctantly. Hawthorn, unfortunately, getting defeated by the Blues. We're expecting the Hawks to do a lot better in this game, weren't we?
Yeah, better karma,
I'll
though.
let you go on that rant, Elijah.
Yeah, I'm a bit of karma. We've been smack talking Blues all season, and they come over and beat us by 60. But I mean, our first goal came in the second half, the third quarter, and yeah, it was disappointing to see. Because Carlton weren't spectacular either. They had a lot of holes in their game. You could see, like, they've left, like Will Day, Josh Ward, like these guys out in the open. All Hawthorn has to do is flip the ball around, bang, and we get a forward inside 50, and possibly set shot. And a lot of missed opportunities too. I think Fergus Green.
In that pocket, he missed about 3.
Yeah, in the right pocket.
Right pocket. It's a low percentage kick as well.
Yeah, for a right footer as well, it's not ideal. And yeah, he didn't perform as well as we thought they would, because they block off not the corridor, right? Because they don't block the corridor, Carlton. They need to. They don't. They force off that way. which forces but then they clog up the 50, right? Everyone pushes back and gets there before the ball can, which Hawthorn didn't do. That's very important. That's how Carlton kicked 112. And then, forced to go around the outside into the pocket and take a hard set shot, which, I mean, I guess is Carlton's game plan, and it worked this time, but disappointing to see Hawthorn not really making any noise out of the big loss last week either against Gold Coast. So, I mean, disappointing, really. Just and efficiency inside 52, horrible.
But I felt sorry for Mitch Lewis. He deserves a lot more delivery up forward. But pretty much to summarize the game up, Hawthorn kept banging it long and high, whereas Carlton broke the lines, and that's pretty much why the boys won.
Yeah, and I mean Hawthorn. Look at the stats. Hawthorn 61 hitouts to 27, but Carlton getting 5 more clearances.
We had ruck advantage because they didn't have TDK and Pitnat. They had Jack Silvani in the ruck, so we had ruck supremacy, and yet we couldn't hit it to our midfielders somehow.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
And Ned Reeves being subbed out, and I understand that rucks take a lot longer to develop into fine players that we've seen, like Max Gawn.
Well, it was the clearances. It wasn't a ruck problem. It was the clearances.
Yeah, clearances.
Which is just rough because they have a lot of good players in that midfield. But they also had Hawthorn 12 free kicks to Carlton's 21.
Shows who was attacking the ball more though. He was first to the ball.
It was.
Well, to summarize Hawthorn's game up there, I don't know if you remember this this play. Hawthorn kept handballing the ball, going towards our 50, and we kept fumbling it. It kept going onto the ground, and I remember the fans at the MCG going like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Like, Jesus Christ!" It just made everyone have a heart attack. And if you compare that to the likes of Collingwood, where there was a play where it was a kick out, goes down the centre to Billy Frampton, gives the handball to Scott Pendlebury, gives it to Murphy, back to Billy Frampton, kicks a goal. Collingwood know how to break the lines to a T, whereas because they've played with each other and they've set in place a system that works. Whereas Hawthorn are still learning a system, and I understand that Sam Mitchell's trying to develop a different type of game that is finding the new generation of gameplay. And it's going to take a while for the Hawks to realise what that is and realise that brand. But Carlton's just way too good. Hawthorn, stop banging it forward and try and be a bit more unique moving forward.
Yeah, well, 31% forward 50 efficiency. It's not right. But no, I think I counted. Was it 5 or 6 contests in, I guess, almost one play where we had numbers, right? 1 or 2 players up in Carlton, and we kept managing to lose possession. Goes back a bit. Another one. 6 times. It went from our forward 50. Left forward flank, all the way back to nearly the back goal square. So it was a horrible performance from Hawthorn, but I don't think that we're out of the dark yet because Sicily's still out. We'll play the Giants next week, but then he's back for North Melbourne in round 18, which hopefully means something. But Carlton,
it's much needed. Much needed.
Carlton, all the answers, surprisingly, because they haven't been that efficient like this whole time. Jack Martin, surprisingly, pretty good game too. 3 goals. Mackay, he got 2 goals, 3. Better than usual. He could have had another one, except for not for a bit of a funny.
Could have had 2, but he had 2 funny moments where he just snapped it. in ridiculous fashion instead of being like me, the superstar that I am, kick 5 straight.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and then Kerno had 3 goals too, so good signs for Carlton, but can they sustain that? I don't know, because they have two wins on the trot now.
That's two wins on the trot.
Yeah, and they have Fremantle in Perth next week. Good test.
Good little test for them as well. Yeah. And Carlton winning will definitely show on the power rankings, as will show now.
Yeah. Okay.
A couple changes here as well. I'll let you go through it.
Okay. Adelaide going above Melbourne. Melbourne, tough conditions. I can't really hold it against them too much, but with the amount of players they have out now, and Adelaide being as winning the way they did.
Dominant.
Not super dominant. I mean, the second half was, but the first half not so much. But the consistency of the football they've been playing better than Melbourne. I think the degree of football they've been playing a bit better too. If you remember, I think a few weeks ago now, like they nearly beat Collingwood. That's after a bye too. So yeah. Going down, Geelong and Richmond going down a little. I mean, Geelong pretty much losing to Sydney, ending up with the draw, but they lost to them. I don't want to underrate that at all. They lost. They're going down. Richmond getting smashed. We all expected it, but it's not that much. Down as well. And then Essendon should have won if it wasn't for Dan Houston. So they'll go up anyway. Right. We've seen like they can hang with Port Adelaide on a deck that they play really well. I think we can both give them a lot of credit there. Suns dropping down. The performance against Collingwood. Oh, obviously the Giants going up too for Melbourne's game. And then Carlton going above St Kilda and Hawthorn. For their demolition, and we're not sold in St Kilda at all.
Where are they on the ladder? Where is St Kilda on the actual ladder?
6th. Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, still 5th. So
they're pretty much 11 spots behind.
Yeah. They're in 5th right now. Tied on points, but only percentage behind Melbourne, ahead of Bulldogs. They're all 3 of those teams are on 36 points. So 6 wins each, but no.
Wow, we hate the Saints.
9 wins each. Yeah.
We would love to see the Saints turn their season around, wouldn't we?
We would, but I can't see it anytime soon, unfortunately.
Let's go on to predictions for round 17.
Yes, we can. Okay. Got to start us off?
Where the Tigers versus the Swans at the G. Lance Franklin's last game at the G, supposedly.
Allegedly. I have Richmond in this one.
I do have Richmond as well. I think home ground supremacy.
Yeah, I don't want to understate it. Like, Swans could step up for Buddy's game. If he does publicly say, "Oh, this has been last season, it's going to MCG," whatever else. I think even then they probably move him on after the season anyway if they can. And also bouncing back from the dismal performance against Geelong last week, I think they kind of want to make a bit of noise. So I don't want to understate that, but I have Richmond by 7.
Bulldogs, Collingwood.
Oh, Collingwood.
I've got Collingwood as well. And I don't want to rule out the Bulldogs either due to those 2 massive outs.
Yeah, but it will be at Marvel.
I do have the Pies.
Yeah, it'll be at Marvel. Probably stacked out crowd too. But yeah, I think in the games which is a massive crowds, Collingwood just wins, don't they?
It's like their 24th player. Their crowd that they bring and the energy that they bring. I remember someone within the media said it was louder than a soccer game, or the 2018 grand final, or whatever.
I was gonna say the energy was similar to that of like a Premier League game.
Yeah,
something like that.
So Oh, it's like their 24th man. Like
Hmm.
their crowd is so intimidating compared to any other team in the comp.
Yeah.
As much as people despise the Pies, we stereotype them with having no teeth, absolutely bogan, ravenous, rabies-filled dogs. They're actually pretty genuine people, but Collingwoods will get over the dogs.
Yeah.
Brisbane versus the Eagles.
Next.
GWS versus the Hawks.
The Giants. And Sicily's not back, and it's in Western Sydney. Giants win this one.
Yeah, the Giants. St Kilda versus the D's.
Yeah, sticking with the main guns here. I've got Melbourne though.
I've got Melbourne as well.
Yeah, I think the outs they have might have a chance for St Kilda to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this one just only cement the fact that Melbourne's a top 4 side and St Kilda is, I don't even think, a finals contender at the moment. So
So we expect the Saints to drop out of the top 8.
I don't think they can yet. They will, probably, but I probably won't be just 1 week. Because the Dogs would have to win as well. They're not beating Collingwood. I don't think they have a chance though. But yeah, we'll just talk about that.
Port Adelaide versus the Suns at Adelaide Oval.
Bit of a rough game. I wonder how.
I wonder how Caroline Wilson will feel if they lose.
I wonder how Kane Corns will feel.
Yeah. Port Adelaide for me.
Yep.
Geelong, North Melbourne at GMHBA.
Once again, tough game. Geelong. Yeah, lots of improvement from last week. North Melbourne, yeah, it's a good game, but you're going into like one of the toughest away games on the calendar. So, yeah.
Game of the round. Essendon, Adelaide at Marvel.
I have Essendon.
I've got the Crows.
Okay, because look, I like the Crows. The Crows are great. And at the MCG, beautiful. But this is Marvel Stadium, bit of a different ground. I'm not sure how they play there. I haven't actually checked how they've gone this and last year. But I like Essendon. They're in good form. Coming off a loss like that to
disappointing loss.
Yeah, in a very disappointing loss to the Power. I think they'll go over a lot of footage. They'll bounce back, no problem. But yeah, I think mainly I don't know how Adelaide play at Marvel. I think that's selling me on the Dons. Yeah.
I'm just riding the Crumb train at the moment. I'm a big fan of the Crows at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're just really exciting.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love the Dawson, Laird, the whole forward line, great. Crom, wonderful. I just think this game, I think slight favorability towards the Dons. Only reason I'm going to them. I like both of their forms at the moment.
That's fair enough. Fremantle versus the Blues.
I have a bit of an upset here. I've
got
Carlton.
I've got Fremantle. I feel like the Dockers should run over them with home territory to their advantage, but you never know with Carlton because they've got momentum.
Well, that is right. And they're in good form too. This is a harder game than the other ones. And Freo should win in home ground, but Carlton looked okay on the weekend against Hawthorn and against Hawks. I guess Sam Mitchell's Hawks. Like, we lose pretty bad, bounce back a little. That the Blues suffocated that. They didn't let that happen, and I think just the way they move back with the ball Optus plays fairly similarly to MCG. I think they're similar strategies. Hopefully they clean up that corridor a bit more. The bit of the guts, but they, I would think, come to this one pretty prepared. Or I guess not prepared, but confident that they can do damage. So yeah, I've Carlton in this one.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, Freo did lose on the weekend. That was at Marvel, but I think either team is up for grabs. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Essendon and the Crows will be on pretty much the same time. I mean, I probably get Crows if that was the MCG, but this one's also, I think, has a lot of potential to be a ripper.
I agree. I can see where you're coming from as well. On to player of the round.
Yeah. And who have you got?
I've got Josh Kelly from the Giants. He played fantastically against the D's and was probably one of the only standouts minus Toby Green from that game. He played on another level in that rainy game up in Darwin.
He did. It was very clean despite the weather and the conditions. I said it before earlier from the power. Not the man of the match, and statistically not the one that stands out the most. Loved his game though. I forget the stats, but 14 1%ers as well. I think that's what really takes it over just a little bit more. And yes, goes to go along with it's a casual 3 marks. Give away 2 frees, but I think he had a pretty good game, right? 8 intercept possessions, 5 score involvements as well. I mean, he did his part, and I was maybe not as deserving as others, but I really liked his game. Just watching it, so yeah.
Give the defenders an end of year reward, AFL committee, because defenders deserve an award as well as anyone else, because the Brownlow predominantly goes to a midfielder and the Coleman goes to the player who kicks the most goals. So whether it's the Golden Fist, which
Defensive player of the year.
Defensive Player of the Year, we'd like to see some form of award that really celebrates defenders and how they play the game. And that's just been shown with Aaliyah, John Noble with his 1%ers. He's playing fantastically. There's a lot of defenders that can be put into that category. But I'd also like to shout out, not a defender, that game as well, Elijah, Zach Butters, he was a man possessed. He was playing another game, another level.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else fumbled the ball. He was playing fantastically. And obviously Nick Dacos for the Pies.
Yeah, well, until that kick after the siren, even Dan Houston and Zach Merritt were tied on 31 disposals each. So, good stuff.
So, a lot of players putting up their hand for the All-Australian spot. On to what made us angry. And let me tell you, I'm a bit frustrated. Stewie Dew has come out and said that he is quite frustrated by the narrative that Caroline Wilson is putting against him. Last year it was Alistair Clarkson, and this year it's now Damien Hardwick. Stewie Dew is a man who deserves his job as much as anyone else. He is a young coach, such similar to that of Sam Mitchell, who they played together in the 2008 grand final. Stewie Dew is a man who has brought the Suns from pretty much nothing to something, and is developing towards something great. And for the Suns to just throw him away would be diabolical. And I do not respect Caroline Wilson putting the Suns coach under such duress And I know that the players wanted to come out to the media and say, Stewie Dew is our man. We wouldn't have re-signed if Stewie Dew didn't stay. So there's obviously culture brewing within the Suns. There's something building at the Suns, and I know the CEO of the Suns has backed Stewie Dew into building his list into a formidable side that will put up fantastic wins. Yes, the Suns are known for being the failure of the AFL, but it doesn't mean that they can remain a failure. They can change their own narrative around, just like an individual can once they fail. Is no reasoning as to why you can't stand back up and get some form of other success. And the Suns have shown such success in the past years compared to the years of like 2015 to probably 2019, 2020, or even 2021 even. But I do not respect that Caroline Wilson is putting a narrative that puts jobs at risk, puts stress on individuals, on teams, and it's just like the example with Bailey Smith, where he was this pop star. He is this oh so handsome supermodel boy, and the amount of attention that he got caused him to actually delve into his mental health and his own well-being, causing him to do stuff out of character. So it just shows that coaching is a difficult job, but it doesn't mean you can't be human and stand up for yourself. And what frustrates me is that nobody believes in a man who is just trying his best to do his job. And at the end of the day, we are all human. And I feel as though we shouldn't be really not really abusing, but stating it, like I said, a narrative that falsely alludes at Damien Hardwick possibly being the Suns coach. And there is nothing saying that Damien Hardwick can or can't coach the Suns. So we don't know what's going to happen with Stewie Dew. But at the same time, Stewie Dew is their man. And for him to stand up for himself and be frustrated, angry, just shows that he wants to push this list forward and the club forward and really change the Suns from being nothing to something. And I'm very frustrated at the fact that coaches, players, staff are put under such duress and such pressure to perform when they're just not there yet.
Yeah, for sure. I don't agree with that one completely. I was really disappointed the Hawks' performance. Went into it before, but I guess the micro about it. But in terms of a macro, I mean, just completely lack of effort, lack of passion, and in a game which is completely winnable. I mean, this is Carlton we're talking about. We're not talking about Brisbane, which we managed to beat. We're not talking about Collingwood. We're talking about Port Adelaide. We're talking about Carlton. This is a team who has all the season just completely failed to meet expectations, and we managed to fail those. I mean, credit to the Blues where it's due, but it's not on. Yeah, that's pretty much it from a macro, just lack of effort. Sad to say.
I'd like to make a special mention of the Swans' inaccuracy. They're really putting Harry Mackay to shame. Like, fair dinkum, 6 goals 18 is not AFL standard, and it just shows that inaccuracy can cause teams to lose and keep teams in it, keep teams that are below them in it even. And if only there were people out there like the Adelaide Crows, for example, who thrive on accuracy. Their set shot routines are fantastic and well driven. They know where the goals are, and they are special. They are your trained professionals to kick a ball the size of this bottle between two sticks under no to a lot of pressure when you should probably be used to the pressure by now. And set shots, depending on where they are, shouldn't be missable. Like Tom Hickey, what the hell are you doing? Doing a drop punt that goes to the right. You're right there in front of the goals. You could just stab at it. You could do anything with the ball that could make it go forward straight 5 meters, but somehow it goes to the right. How does that happen? How does that happen?
Don't ask me.
But I think it's time for a bit of a laugh. What made you laugh this weekend, Elijah?
Has to be Mackay, isn't it? He's done it again.
Harry Mackay.
He's
done it again. Dun, dun, dun.
And everyone in the stadium knew. It's like, oh, he's done it again. Dead straight in front. Decides to go for his snap, and it doesn't even make the distance. It falls to Connor Nash's hands. It's beauty.
Oh my days. He's a myth. He's a legend of the game. He is one of the players of all time.
I do feel bad. I mean, you do that, and then you hear a stadium full of 66,000 people start laughing. It's really bad, but hey.
He's pretty insecure, but you know what? They got the dub, so he could just point at the scoreboard and say, "Stuff you guys.
That is true.
We're winning."
Yeah.
But there's a lot of improvements that Harry Mackay has to make to his AFL. Because you know what else frustrated me? His field kicking was insane. I just remembered his field kicking was insane.
Yeah.
If only he could kick like that in front of the big sticks.
Yeah, I mean,
he'd be kicking 100 goals.
Yeah, he'd be kicking like running targets, like 40 meters away, bang on the chest, great. And then in front of goal, his drop punts are not bad. He gets those. And just when he decides to go for a snap for, I don't know what reason, he stuffs it up. I genuinely have no idea why he's going for those, because otherwise we'd be talking about him for running away with the Coleman medal. And like basically the best player on the Carlton's list, and they'll probably be in the top 8 too. So,
poor Carlton fans. Final messages.
I don't think anything. Besides,
I've got a couple.
All right.
I've got a couple.
Go for it.
I sent this to you earlier this week, Elijah, but the mid-season trade period. You weren't a fan of it.
No.
You think we're trying to copy America too much? We should stay like Australia.
Well, not really, but like, what's the point of adding it? Right. I mean, you already have enough people, like especially in this economy too, who are like, oh, I don't want to play in West Coast. Just take me back to Melbourne or South Australia, Adelaide to play. Right. We don't need to be throwing in more chances of, sorry, mate, had to talk to the CEO, shipping you off to the Gold Coast. When you're in a perfectly fine state, it's like, come on.
Sort of shows compared to, say, the 90s, 2000s, and early 2010s, the commitment and loyalty players have for their club, even if they are interstate.
Yeah. Like, it just throws everything out the window, and all like the job security, and this I'm just not a fan at all.
And you got players who play different sports, like the EPL. you got players like Lionel Messi, who's from Argentina, playing in Paris, now playing in America, and still plays for Argentina. Like, he's traveling across the world, and
Well, he can afford that because he makes the kind of money.
Yeah, he makes some money, but then he's sacrificing family at home. He's sacrificing his being at home in his own country. Like, there's a lot that he sacrifices compared to Australia, where he where players within their own country, you can make the complaint that you're going interstate and you're not being at home with your family in Melbourne when you're in WA. But
well, that's another thing, right? Messi, he's an all-star. He's basically the best player to play the game, or one of. And
the best,
yeah,
the
that's
GOAT.
a discussion. I'm not talking about it because I don't watch soccer. But I mean, basically his choice. Like, I'm going to play for this league. It's not like it was just knock on his door or messaging his email saying, "Look, mate, we've shipped you halfway across the world because we feel like it. We want draft capital."
Yeah,
like it's a completely different league as well. So
it's not like the NBA where you get traded without your consent.
yeah, like I remember Harrison Barnes, when we were traded like in the middle of a game from Dallas to Sacramento.
Really? Did you get traded in the middle of a game?
Middle of the game, and
What a
he just
poor fella.
He just walked off the court and went on a flight to Sacramento.
Poor fella.
Like
that's a better example. That's a better example, actually.
Yeah, like
should have used that
you
example.
don't want to be seeing that in the AFL. Like contracts help, but we also know in professional sports it doesn't mean a whole lot at the end of the day because people just like, oh, okay, we'll just ship that off. We'll ship that off, and we don't care.
One final thing that I'd like to say to you, Elijah, and I want you to keep your ears out. This is a discussion for next week. But I was just having a look at one of my footy group chats, and one of my mates has stated that, did you guys hear about AFL investigating all these nude leaks of past and present players?
Well, I haven't heard of it. I also don't care because I think it's just the media trying to get petty little drama out.
That's fair enough.
Bit of a slow news days. That's it. There's why would you investigate that? I guess it's in light of some fake stuff. From I think one of the Collingwood players. I forget who. I think yeah. There's no point. I don't care.
Just thought I'd bring it up because it was just something that really caught my eye in one of the group chats. But if you've got nothing else to say, I'm happy to leave it there.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, bell, Twitter's got all the notifications for all this stuff. I don't remember if I actually posted for this last week's episode, but this will not be going up. Well, it's the 5th of July now. That'll definitely be up by the morning, Thursday morning. So, yeah.
For you Americans celebrating the 4th of July, happy 4th of July. And it'll be coming out tomorrow for you guys as well. That is same day.
Same day, middle of the day.
Yeah. And that is Jakob and Elijah from the Premiership Podcast, out and about.
Thank you.